Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and today I want to start my solo playthrough of The Pirate Republic, a game designed by Tom Butler, who is really insanely active when it comes to answering rules questions on The Geek. So yeah, let's set sail! And yeah, this is the setup of the beautiful board of the solo play, which is not really different to the multiplayer experience. It's really pretty much the same thing. One thing that I still have to do is to flip all those ship tokens that are adjacent to my current territory. And I decided to start on Nassau here, because it's on the middle of the board. I can reach a lot of spaces. But one thing that's really important, you spawn those tokens after you have chosen your starting location. So let's quickly do that. Here we have a merchant, another merchant, a pirate, another merchant. Oh, we're not looking bad. Another merchant. This is not adjacent. This is adjacent. This is another merchant. And here, oh, here we have one of the naval ships. And I'm starting in the same territory as a pirate. So I have to engage one pirate. Of course, I decided to play the game as Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard. So here are his tokens, his flag. I'm using the, I think it's the deluxe edition or collector's edition, cannot quite remember. So this is a bloodshed token which I will use in order to trigger my movement points, and those are the very nice looking reputation tokens. The standard games comes with standard cardboard sheets, but I'm using some of those metal coins. Really looking awesome. I have to confess that I'm still struggling with some of the rules, even though Tom the designer is incredibly active on The Geek, really all day long, and sometimes it seems also during his night he's responding to rules questions. But one or two things are still not 100% clear to me, so I may be doing some, let's say, extra errors on top of the usual goofs I usually do during my playthrough. So if I'm totally wrong with some of my interpretations, I will, I think, really delete this episode and start all over again. But I really hope I have it right. And yeah, let's get cracking. And I will explain all the rules as I go. One thing to mention is I will really play the solo version of the game. So I'm not using the flying gang cards, which are some kind of mission cards for the co-op game. I will not use all of the chaos cards that are available, so there are special cards that you only use for solo play, which is really something I like a lot. But keep in mind that Colin from One Stop Co-op Shop also agreed on doing a playthrough once he receives the game, and I think he wants to focus on the cooperative version of the game. At least this is how I understood it. The goal of the solo mode is to get as many swagger or victory points as possible. So I really don't have a clue whatever if 55 points is a good result. It seems so because I played, I think, 2 rounds for training, and I think I was around 20 points if I'm not mistaken. So really, I think my goal for this playthrough is to get to at least lieutenant level. Not sure I will be able to make it. Normally I'm not a big fan of beating your own score, but in this case it's really more like a training exercise for me. And I really think that the cooperative version of the game is much more challenging, as there are really goals which you have to achieve. I will play 3 rounds, and as there isn't a real turn marker, I'm using this fancy die here. So right now we are in round 1, and I think let's get started. And as far as I understand, the first thing that you always do during setup is to trigger your very first chaos card. So let's quickly do that. Immediately announce, calling all filibusters, buccaneers, sea rovers and sea dogs. There is fortune for you and yours. The treasure fleet has arrived. It is in Havana and sailing for the old world. The active player, which is me, places 2 treasure fleets anywhere on the Seville route. Awesome. If any treasure fleets are already on the Seville route, return those treasure fleets to Havana. The active player gains 1 reputation token. I think I get the reputation token anyway, and this is really a good thing, because we can spend those for all kinds of things, but I think the most common use for those reputation tokens is to trigger the more powerful effects of your pirate cards, which I will show you in a second. So let's place those tokens, and I think one I want to place right next to Sevilla here. So we will place a token here, and you can also use those ship miniatures. You don't really need those, but it looks much cooler that way. I really don't want to put them on the same spaces as existing tokens, because then I have to fight twice, and fighting is always challenging. So I think in this case, let's place the next treasure fleet next to Charlestown here. Charlestown. And yeah, I think that's already the end of this first Chaos card. Then let's draw our first 4 pirate cards. We are at level 1, so our hand limit is 4, so we're always drawing up to 4 cards. So let's see what we got. So here's our starting hand of cards. So pretty much the standard effect, the advanced effect. This is really something I will explain when we actually need those, but they are pretty similar to stuff you're doing in Mage Knight or Star Trek Frontiers, which is really something I like a lot about this game here. But now it's really time to start our very first round and turn. And the dummy player always goes first. So he's also drawing 4 cards like us. It doesn't really matter which cards he drew, because he's really also behaving like the dummy player in Mage Knight or Frontiers. The only difference is now we are rolling a die, and yeah, depending on the roll, he discards that many cards from his hand. So let's quickly do that. Okay, that's the red lookout, and I think that's bad. The red lookout, he will discard all 4 cards from his hand, and this is pretty much our timer. So when his deck runs out, he will declare end of round, and there is a discussion ongoing right now, because the rules are not very clear on this, who is really ending the round. The way I understood it now is only the dummy player will ever let's say end the round. But yeah, he's now already 4 cards ahead. His deck is 12 cards, just like us, so if he's continuing to roll like this, then yeah, we only have 3 or 4 turns. So yeah, but then it's now time to start our turn, and the first thing is to roll the tidings die again for us. So let's see what comes out. This is the treasure fleet icon, and this is only something that you would trigger if you are on a sea space. Right now we are here on a land space in Nassau, so we are not triggering this die result, which also means we have our standard speed for the round. That's 3 movement points. And now it's time to have a look at our surrounding here. As soon as I move out into the, let's say, sea space of my current territory, I have to fight this token. So you have to fight all those standard tokens. You have a choice if you want to attack the treasure fleet or if you want to attack a town, but you always have to engage those tokens here. So as soon as I move out with 1 movement point, I have to trigger the fight against the pirate. And I think this is something I want to do, and I have to do it anyway, otherwise I could call it a game for now. And there is definitely a good chance that I will be able to take him out. So let's spend 1 movement point to move out of Nassau, and then we have to fight this token. The way how this works now is, first of all, we are going through an initiative phase, which means we have to roll this huge initiative die here. And just to give you some comparison, this is a standard die, and this is already a great die. This is not a standard die, don't have one here right now, but this is really a huge die here, and we have to roll it. And depending on what I roll, I will either go first or I will go second. Of course, you want to go first because this is your chance to sink your token. So yeah, let's roll it, and I'm pretty sure it will not fit through my dice tower. So let me prove that to you. Bam, bam, no chance. So I have to roll it without my dice tower, but I think it's only 1 die. That should be okay. But it's really a heavy die, so it may really knock over some of my miniatures here. So let's see. And that's a standard hit, which is a good thing, as this means I will go first, which is always cool. Now we can have a closer look at the token here. Here's the reward. Those are 3 reputation tokens. That's insane. And here is his attack or his defense. The 2 values are separated by a slash, which means I get to choose which of those I need to achieve. As I go first, I can really go for the lowest value here, or I could go for the highest value, really depending a little bit on the cards at hand. If they would attack me, they will always go for the higher value, of course. But in this case, it's really not that big of a deal. And I think I want to use Blackbeard Smoke, and this produces 2 long range and 3 close quarters. Just to remind you, we need 2 close quarters because we only need 2 points of those. So this is really a plus. So I cannot, this is also very interesting discussion on the Geek. If those cards played are for the entire combat, for a combat round only, but no, it's pretty much for one phase of your fight. So if I want now attack, I can play this card, but any excess of this card is then lost. But those are 3 close quarter points, definitely good enough. Let's discard this card to defeat this token here. I only needed 2 close quarters. We put it next to the appropriate pile here, and if there ever are 6 of those pirates, this is really something bad. I will pretty much lose Pirate Haven, and I get basically -1 hand size until I build a new Pirate Haven somewhere, which is definitely important. Right now we are still far away from it, and we are still getting our reward of 3 more reputation. It's really, really insane. I still have 2 more movement points, and here is something which I understand will work a little bit differently in the new version of the rules, which Tom apparently seems to work on. In my version of the rules, it says as soon as you are at 0 movement, you have to end your turn. But I think this is no longer the case. You can still do stuff if it makes sense for you. And then you would have pretty much to announce your end of turn. So you're no longer forced to end your turn once you run out of movement points. And I think this really makes sense. But yeah, I still have 2 more movement points to go. So let's spend one of those. And the idea is to flip one of those treasure ships as soon as possible. Again, I don't have to fight it, but so let's move into Great Abaco here. Now I have to fight this merchant. 1 long range, 1 close quarters, or 2 strike fear. There is something special about those strike fear, but I think I will explain this as I go. And now again, we have to roll our initiative die to check who goes first. That's a miss, but this miss is something special because it has a 4+, and this 4+ means it's no longer a miss once you reach a level 4 or more. In this case, I'm level 1, so it's definitely a miss. So the merchant caught me off guard or so, which is definitely bad news because it will attack me with strike fear, and there's 2 of strike fear. So in order not to take damage here, I have to produce some defense points first. And I think I should be good. So he will go for his highest value. In this case, that's the strike fear. So he really tries to make me flee. But I think I should be good. So I will now play those 2 cards here in order to produce 2 strike fear in order to defend. In theory, I could have played the try again mate here in order to re-roll my initiative die, but it's really a long shot and then this card would be gone. So I think in this case, let's spend those 2 cards producing 2 of those strike fear symbols. So I defended successfully. I could have decided only to block half of the damage, then I would only take 1 bloodshed token, and that's still fine. Only if you get the 2nd token you would have been captured, then a lot of bad stuff is happening. But I think in this case I'm still okay. It's the first round of the game, so I will now attack him. So the token is still there, and again I get to choose which of those symbols I'm aiming for. In this case I will totally go for the long range. So let's go for the try again matey here. I will use the 2nd potion of the standard effect. I could go for the powered up effect because then I could also go for a card draw, but I think in this case that's okay. Let's go for the standard effect. Those are 2 symbols. I only needed 1. Let's discard this card. Then let's remove this token here. Now this is reward which I get to choose. Again, there's a slash, so I could go for 2 swagger equaling 2 victory points or 1 reputation tokens. I have reputation tokens like crazy, so I will totally go for the swagger here, bringing me up to 2 swagger points, and my immediate goal is to get to 8 because this would mean I would level up to level 2, which means I get an advanced pirate card, which is always a good thing. Let's grab the token we have just defeated and put it to the appropriate place on the board. If there are ever 6 of those, another naval ship will come out at some point in time. Right now that's still okay, and I still have 1 more movement point, so let's use it. in order to move into Charlestown, and therefore I get to flip this treasure ship token. And yeah, now you're talking, because in order to defeat this I need 13 long range plus 16 close quarters or 10 strike fear. But on the other hand, I gain 8 swagger, 2 reputation tokens, and one of those very powerful, I think, treasure cards. But yeah, right now I'm nowhere close beating this guy, and I'm now out of movement, I'm out of cards, so I might as well end my turn here, which means I get to draw up to my hand size of 4 right now. Let's have a look. Those are the cards for turn 2 pretty much. Here's a draw, a lot of icons. I think overall that's okay, but again, definitely not good enough to take out that treasure fleet. Then we move into the dummy player's turn. Again, we would draw to his hand size, which is always 4 as far as I understood. Next, we would roll the tidings die again and discard the cards accordingly. That's the -1, and the -1 means we only discard 1 card. Okay, that's more like it. He really significantly slowed down. Then it's our turn. 1, 2, 3 movement points. Let's roll the tidings die for us. As we are now at sea, I get to resolve all of those results. That's the white lookout, which means I have to move the closest pirate hunter. Right now there are none on the board yet, or naval ship token to your space. The good thing is I can combat or avoid it because we roll the white lookout. There's also the red lookout, and then I have to fight it. But for now, let's move the French naval ship to your space. It's not closer to your ship, it's really to your space. And that's definitely a different league. So in order to defeat him, we need to produce 4 strike fear results and or 6 close quarters and 6 long range. So 12 combat points in total. Wow. In theory, I could make it, because I can spend reputation tokens in order to produce strike fear results. The problem is I only get to choose the strike fear if I basically won the initiative roll, and at level 1 that's really not that likely. And on top of this, I would also burn 4 reputation tokens, because right now I don't have any strike fear symbols on my cards. On my last hand I had 2 of those symbols, and then it's definitely way more likely in order to make it. But I think with this there is no chance I will be able to generate enough of those symbols, to be honest. So because it all goes down on if I go first or not. There are some rerolls ability like this, so there's still a chance that I get to get the reroll and to use one of those symbols here. But on top of that, I don't get to 12 or 6 and 6 in this case. No, I think I want to flee. The rules say I have to move to an adjacent sea space or into, let's say, a land space. That's Pirate Haven, I think. But it doesn't really tell me if I need to move into an empty sea space, to be honest. So if I could move in here right now, which would normally also trigger combat automatically. Again, something that's not very clear to me. So I will play it like this, and I will basically move into Great Abaco again. From there I have some choices for my round, and yeah, I can now start my round, and I will generate 1, 2 movement points in order to move 1, 2 spaces into Eleuthera here, or Saint Croix. And again we have to roll the initiative die again because of this merchant token there. But in this case it shouldn't be a big deal. No, that's a hit. Awesome. We get to shoot first. The token can be fought with either long range or close quarters, 2 of each. And I think I want to go with the blow the man down. This is generating 2 + 1 long range. I only need 1 of those, so let's discard this card. And the reward for this token is 1 swagger or 2 reputation tokens. In this case, really the 2 reputation tokens is much better than the 1 swagger. So I think, yeah, let's go for the 2 tokens, because I can always use those in order to generate some strike fear. Let's place the token accordingly. So again, if 6 are here, then we would trigger an additional, or would bring a new naval ship onto the map. Right now that's not necessary. And with my last movement point, I want to move into Saint-Croix, and this is the first time I get to draw one of those land tokens here. That's the Danish nation, so I'm not playing with the Danish as a player, so there's also a, let's call it a major city or something, but I'm not using it. But still, those cities or towns are still out here, so let's see what we got. Okay, that's a fort. That's always a bad thing. 8 strike fear, 11 plus 10. So those forts are really tough to sack, but I don't have to do that. Good thing is I now sailed into the harbor here, so some of those tidings dice results don't do me any harm. And yeah, that's, I think, the end of my round. I'm out of movement points in theory. I could still spend this card in order to gain 2 more movement points, and I think with the new rules, this is the way how I understand I can still play this card even though I'm down at 0 movement points. If not, Tom, please correct me. But I think, and I could also go for an additional card right now, but I think time-wise I'm still okay, because he had a, or the dummy player had a slow turn. He still holds 3 cards, so he will only draw up to 4, so 1 card from his draw deck. So I think overall I still have some time left. So yeah, I think I will call it a turn now. So let's draw up to our hand size. Scourge of the Seven Seas. That's more like it. Wow, 1 reputation, 2 close quarters, 2 long range. Or if I would power it up, I would gain a strike fear, and we would get to shuffle back into the pirate deck. So wow, this is really a great card. But I think I will continue my voyages on the Spanish main as of my next episode. I really want to keep it as short as possible, giving you some room to really respond to some of the rule scoofs I may have made, especially Tom nudge nudge. And I think as of the next video, I may be doing it a little bit more quicker and maybe really play the entire round. Let's see how things go. I only acquired 2 swagger, which is kind of lame, I agree, but I really hope to improve on that or in my next video as well. And yeah, hope you are enjoying my little playthrough of the Pirate Republic here. Hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and until then, bye bye.